Hello, YouTube. I'd like to memorialize Prince with you, not by playing any of his music, of course, I would have to pay for that, but by sharing with you an obituary from The Economist. I chose this obituary, A, because I find The Economist is quite articulate about who it is and what it is. And in this article and in this discussion about this article and this memorialization of Prince, we will also get to see both the themes of how culture is commodified. He, of course, is a producer, you could say, of not just music, but of popular culture itself, including the different channels that he explored as a musician, as a writer, as a producer, and through film, and the iconography of Prince himself. But equally, how then that becomes commodified into a market-appropriate commodity to trade that people can make money upon, the trade of this cultural commodity. And so The Economist is, of course, The Economist magazine is going to tell us about this artist as a commodity. And it's interesting because, well, let's just jump into it. The article is called Music Like a River, and it begins, "So sexy, freedom. So sexy he couldn't begin to explain it. Free to put on mascara, paint his lips, glue on long eyelashes to lower, flutter, and seduce. Wear any color, especially purple, but also electric blue, scarlet, glitter silver, and eye-aching lizard green. Strut in ruffles," and then it goes on and on and on to describe Prince's look. I was interested in how the article opened with this passage because this is, of course, Prince's look is a great aspect of his art, but the other side, of course, is his life is his music, especially not least of which are the lyrics that he writes, and he literally produces on his albums, handwritten notes from him, so that people can see, this guy really wrote, produced, perhaps even played all the accompaniment on some of his early albums, especially on all of the instruments. And so this is a crucial aspect of this artist. And so I, for one, was going into the article to see how this aspect would be covered. And so it's interesting to see that the article, the crux of them presenting his look, doesn't end with anything that Prince had to say about his look, doesn't end with his voice, but it ends with sell more than 100 million records worldwide. That's literally the end of the paragraph explaining Prince's look. And so immediately, they've commodified everything about his look, including, be free to be both races and sexes, and neither, in one cat-like commanding frame. That's how they describe, his purple badness himself. And so here again, they're allowing the market, because the bottom line here is the 100 million records it sold. The bottom line here is that all this look and this intersexual, intergender, intertextuality, textuality that Prince has as an artist, the bottom line is what are the market figures? And so again, if you go, just take a quick look to the end of the article. I'm not going to go, don't worry, I'm not going to go paragraph by paragraph. But I will say that if you look at the end of the article, the conclusion, again, talks about what Prince left behind, his music vault. And it doesn't directly say that, how is this going to become a commodity that can be traded on the market? But it just says that it's enough material, some said, to make an annual albums for the next 100 years. So look, there's a commodity. They've already rendered, his work a commodity. Now let's go back again to the beginning of the article where they introduce Prince's look, and I'll just tell you about the meat of the article. As you go through, they compare him to the different genres that he crossed, and they give a list of songs representing each of these different genres. I'll come back to that because I'll close with Uptown and what he actually said in the song about his look, and how he linked that to the freedom that none of which is discussed in any part of this article. What this article does do, however, is focus on Prince's time in fighting the market. So Although they compare Prince to, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Miles Davis, Marvin Gaye, Duke Ellington, Little Richard, um, um, Sly and the Family Stone, all, wrapped up into this one fusion. They forget, of course, Steve Wonder, Shaka Khan, Tina Turner. Um, but they say that there's this mix, that just comes together to be able to sell this magic product. That's ultimately what they're talking about here. And then, of course, they go on to cite Purple Rain as one of those areas where where it was recognized that this artist truly could produce a set of marketable commodities. All the while, they've not said anything about what Prince actually says in any of this actual work. Notice that, because we're still talking about art. They go on to say that Prince was so keen to control his image that he also didn't release his music through the dominant, digital music channels, Spotify, iTunes, and whatnot, and that this ultimately was used to complete the picture that they painted of Prince as an sort of anti-market artist by tracing his market actions. It's interesting because they try to explain this, again, not by investigating or asking Prince what he said, especially by looking through, lyrics that he wrote, but by, again, from their perspective. Roots defined him slightly. He was born and schooled in Minnesota, and so they go on to tell this, impoverished history and how he was exposed to all this art and fleeting impressions like vivid strobes, and they just really try and paint him as this artistic person that just couldn't be captured by market forces. But luckily, in this lifetime, we got to know a bit of his genius. Only one thing held him. He felt its tingling grip when he was 7, struggling to be good enough to be allowed to play his father's piano. His already high-teased hair nodding over the keys after his friends had gone home from school. It roared through his body on the stage like a river without end. At Paisley Park, if he was not at his purple grand piano, he would be recording, and though he produced 39 studio albums, 4 in the last 19 months, he still had shelves and shelves of his artistic genius. And so I want to turn to you now to just conclude this memorialization of Prince by acknowledging that there is certainly an obituary that stands. It tells us about what this artist meant to us in one way. In another way, if we look at one of the songs it's cited here as one of the genres that he crossed, from funk to rock to techno to pop to obscenity to beauty. For dance, they talk about the song Uptown. And in the song Uptown, Prince introduces the song. It's a really funky beat, actually, really sexy funky beat. And a woman comes and approaches him, and she says, are you gay? And he's like, no, I'm not gay. And then he goes on to talk about his look, just because I wear this, and this, the freedom that I'm expressing in wearing all of this is not to be, as he says literally in the song, a victim of society. He calls her a victim of society. And then he goes on through different refrains throughout the rest of the song, not to talk about or focus on the romantic interaction. He teases that, of course, with the sex appeal also, all along, through the song. But ultimately, the meat of the song and what Prince is really emphasizing is that Uptown is a place where you can be free. It's ultimately a state of mind, a place of being that he wears, that he embodies. He literally carves out on his body being this genderless or sexless or gender plus and sex plus, race, neutral or race, positive technicolor individual. We're left to decide where he sits on this fence that he's constantly crossing between gender and sex and race and miscegenation and race and all the different ideas about integration. He tries to embody all of those different questions by performing them in all the different iterations through all the different songs. Now, again, Uptown, and several of the songs cited even in this article would also have a very strong note to talk about what even this magazine talks about as The Economist: money. One of the most important things that this artist had to say, had this article even cared to look at any of Prince's lyrics, is that money don't matter tonight. It's one of the strongest themes this artist ever gave us. I mean, he would write love songs about, longing for love, and love songs from both the perspective of being the dominant figure or being the passive figure, or being the two that are mutually in love, and constantly negotiating the gender aspects of love, but equally also saying in strong emphasis, money does not matter. He tries not to, hide behind what fame might mean to him, but he also explicitly says, this is the value that I have as a person walking and existing on this planet, who's left to reflect the world around me through this art. I find it interesting, of course, and this is why we ultimately call this this format of journalism a kind of cultural appropriation. They appropriate what they need of art for its market purposes. And we must be ever vigilant of this, because it can become a way of thinking. It can become our dominant kind of ideology. And again, I think this is something that clearly this artist would have wanted us to carry forth, no matter when he, as a person, was on this planet. His art lives on with us, and we will continue to listen to all these songs. The Cross, Black Days, Stormy Nights, Ghettos to the left of us, Flowers to the right of us. What is that if not a comment on our greed? And Sign of the Times, all the songs that this man has, so many of them, whether or not they're love songs or social commentary songs directly, they really do emphasize that our world should not be ruled by what people just think when they only think about the economy.